Hello, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera.
We have a really special deep dive today, specifically for the followers of the C9 podcast and business page.
We really do. And if you are a business owner or an executive anywhere in Australia right now, you're going to want to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're looking at a reality check today. It is February 26th, 2026.
Time flies.
It does. And I mean, think back to a couple of years ago, like 2023, 2024, the AI boom was just everywhere.
Oh, it's deafening. The hype. Everyone was saying, adopt AI or your business is dead tomorrow.
Exactly, just pure panic buying, essentially.
Yep.
And everyone got it. Everyone is using it in some form now.
Right.
But looking at the source material we have today, the dust has settled. And the reality is not matching the hype.
Not even close.
There is this statistic that it actually made me read it twice.
Yeah.
So the Australian AI market hit nearly $2.39 billion in 2025.
Which is a huge amount of capital flowing into this.
Massive. But despite all that money, an estimated 80% of AI projects fail to progress beyond the pilot stage.
80%.
Yeah.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. If you had a department in your business with an 80% failure rate,
You'd shut it down.
you'd completely overhaul it. Yeah. But businesses are just hitting this hard ceiling. And it's important to understand why. It is not a technology problem.
Right. The tech itself works fine.
It works brilliantly. The problem is a fit problem. Australian businesses are using off-the-shelf tools, generic SaaS platforms.
The ones built for the entire global market?
Exactly. They're built for the global average. They're not built for specific Australian workflows or your specific data or our local regulations.
Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We are not talking about how to write a better prompt for a chatbot today.
No.
We are looking at the strategic difference between basically renting intelligence from a massive global vendor and actually building a bespoke AI asset.
Because that choice is creating a massive divide right now. We're seeing custom solutions generating a 12 to 18-month competitive advantage for the leaders in this space.
So if you're sitting there wondering why that AI pilot you signed off on hasn't turned into a profit engine yet, this deep dive is exactly for you.
Let's start by unpacking that off-the-shelf trap.
Yeah.
Because it always starts so well, right?
Apple honeymoon phase.
Yes. You get the subscription, everyone logs in, and suddenly productivity ticks up.
People are drafting emails in 2 seconds, summarizing meeting notes. It feels like magic.
It feels like you've transformed the business. But then, and this happens every single time, you try to use it for your core business processes.
The actual complex work that makes you money.
Right. And immediately, the internal questions start piling up. Legal wants to know where the data is going. IT is complaining that it doesn't integrate with the legacy system.
And then finance walks in.
Oh, finance always walks in.
Yeah.
And they ask, where is the ROI on these monthly user licenses?
And that is a really uncomfortable conversation. Our sources cite a finding from the Governance Institute of Australia. They found that 93% of businesses have no effective method for measuring ROI from AI.
93%. That means almost everyone is flying blind. They are spending money on pilots, but they aren't transforming the business because these generic tools just aren't integrated deeply enough.
They're skimming the surface. So let's define this properly. What is the fundamental difference between off-the-shelf and bespoke AI?
Well, think of off-the-shelf as being built for volume. The vendor wants maximum market share, so the training data is just public internet content.
It's Wikipedia, public forums, generic websites.
Exactly. The features have to work for a marketing agency in New York, a bakery in London, and a logistics firm in Sydney. So by designing for everyone, it is specifically designed for no one.
It's the ultimate compromise.
Yes. Bespoke, on the other hand, the clue is in the name. It comes from tailoring. A bespoke suit is cut to your exact measurements. A bespoke AI is built around your proprietary data, your daily workflows, and your specific business objectives.
So let's get into the weeds here. Where specifically does the generic approach break down for an Australian company? The sources outline 5 major failure modes.
Let's run through them, because I guarantee our listeners are experiencing at least one of these right now. The first one is a massive one data sovereignty and privacy.
This is the one that scares the legal teams.
Terrifies them, because with a generic tool, you are usually sending your data to a US-based platform.
You type a prompt, you hit enter, and poof, it crosses the Pacific.
Right. And if you are putting client details, financial records, or proprietary IP into that prompt, and you don't know exactly where that data is processed or stored,
You're stepping on a landmine.
you are massively exposed under the Privacy Act 1988 and the Australian privacy principles.
And the bespoke fix for this is purely architectural, isn't it?
It is. You host the data within Australian borders,
Great.
period. You own the system, the infrastructure is yours, and the data never leaves your control. You completely eliminate that sovereignty risk.
Okay, failure mode number 2. The sources call this the context void.
This is why generic AI often feels so frustrating to use for real work. It is guessing based on generic internet patterns.
It's playing the odds.
Exactly. It doesn't know your pricing structures. It doesn't know the client history from 5 years ago. It doesn't know the weird internal acronyms your sales team uses.
So it gives you a perfectly formatted answer that is completely useless in reality.
Right. A bespoke model fixes this because it is trained on your historical data. Your CRM, your operational logs, your document libraries. It doesn't have to guess. It just applies your actual institutional knowledge.
Which flows nicely into failure mode number 3, hallucination in high-stakes output.
Ah, the confident liar.
I love that phrase from the source material, the confident liar, because if you're writing a blog post, a hallucination is just a funny mistake.
You just delete it and move on.
But in legal or financial reporting or medical triage, a confident lie is a massive liability.
It is unacceptable. And the way Bespoke AI fixes this is through something called Retrieval Augmented Generation,
Quite.
or RAG.
Rag, explain how that works for us.
It's actually a very elegant solution. Instead of the AI just trying to predict the most likely next word out of thin air, you force it to look at your verified documents to find the answer.
So it's like giving it an open book test, but it can only read the textbook you provide.
That's a great way to put it. It looks at your verified data, retrieves the relevant facts, and generates the answer based strictly on that. No guessing, no making things up.
That brings us to number 4, broken integration, and they call this the manual bridge, or the copy-paste tax.
This one drives operational teams crazy.
Oh, it really does. You have this incredibly sophisticated AI tool in one window,
And your legacy ERP system in another window.
and you have a highly paid employee acting as a human bridge, literally copying and pasting between the two.
Which completely kills the efficiency gain you were supposed to be getting. You're paying a tax on every transaction in wasted time.
So how does Bespoke solve the copy-paste tax?
Because a custom solution doesn't sit in a separate browser tab. It lives inside your CRM, inside your ERP. It reads and writes data in real time directly where the work actually happens.
It's just a seamless part of the workflow.
Exactly. And the final failure mode, number 5, is compliance as an afterthought.
Because those global tools are built for US and EU regulations primarily.
Right, they're looking at GDPR or US state laws. They are generally ignoring Australian standards like the Voluntary AI Safety
They're
Standard.
with a custom build.
You design for the Australian AI ethics principles from day one. You build in privacy protection, human-centered design, and accountability at the foundation level. It's not a pass you apply later.
Okay, so those are the 5 failure modes: sovereignty, the context void, hallucinations, broken integration, and compliance.
If your pilot is stuck, it's likely stuck on one of those 5 hurdles.
So let's flip this around. Let's make this concrete for the listeners. What does it actually look like when an Australian business gets this right?
The source material has some brilliant real-world examples. Let's look at the legal sector first.
Okay.
You have a mid-sized law firm. Instead of using a generic tool that knows a little bit about every law in the world, they use a bespoke AI trained exclusively on their own precedent library.
So it knows exactly how that specific firm argues a point.
Exactly. And when a junior lawyer drafts something, the AI flags risks based on the firm's specific internal standards, not just generic legal principles.
That is a huge time saver for the partners reviewing the work.
Massive. Or take healthcare. This is a sector where privacy is non-negotiable.
Right, you cannot mess around with patient data.
So they built a triage system, hosted entirely on private infrastructure. It routes patients, it pre-populates the medical intake forms, but no patient data ever leaves that secure hospital network.
So it maintains total compliance with the My Health Records Act.
Spot on. You simply cannot do that with a generic public chatbot.
What about retail? We have a lot of retailers listening.
For retail, it's all about demand forecasting. An off-the-shelf AI doesn't know that your specific supplier in Southeast Asia has a weird 3-week delay every October.
Right, it just looks at generic seasonal trends.
But a bespoke model knows your specific supplier lead times. It knows your unique seasonal spikes. It prevents stockouts because it understands your exact supply chain dynamics.
And the last example from the sources was fintech, right?
Yes, compliance reporting. They use Bespoke AI to create a tamper-evident audit trail for every single transaction.
Which is exactly what ASIC and APRA want to see.
Exactly. It automates the heavy lifting of compliance while actually improving the accuracy of the regulatory reporting.
Okay, so the listener is nodding along. They see the value, but, and there's always a but, they have to go pitch this to the board.
They have to get it past the CFO.
Exactly. And building a custom bespoke AI is an investment. It's not a $20 a month software license. How do you talk to the board about this?
The sources break this down beautifully into a three-bucket ROI framework. You have to speak the board's language.
Okay, bucket number one.
Cost reduction. This is your hard ROI. You look at processes like document processing, data entry, customer intake. A well-built, bespoke system typically drives a 60 to 80% reduction in the time it takes to do those tasks.
60 to 80%. That goes straight to the bottom line in labor savings.
And error reduction.
Yeah.
Less human data entry means less rework, which saves even more money.
Right. So what is bucket two?
Revenue upside. This is your soft ROI. Your sales cycles get faster because the AI is enabling intelligent, instant follow-up with leads.
You never miss an opportunity because someone was at lunch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And client retention improves because you can offer hyper-personalized service at scale.
Which brings us to bucket three. And you mentioned earlier that this is often the clincher for Australian boards.
Yes, risk reduction. It's the sleeper hit of the business case.
Because the cost of getting it wrong is so high now.
Unimaginably high. What is the cost of an ASIC fine? What is the cost of a data breach? Because someone pasted sensitive client data into a public AI tool.
The reputational damage alone could sink a mid-sized firm.
Exactly. By investing in bespoke AI, you are ensuring data sovereignty and mitigating those massive regulatory risks. You are buying operational insurance.
So you've got hard cost savings, revenue acceleration, and critical risk mitigation. That is a very solid pitch to any CFO.
It changes the conversation from, why are we spending this money, to, we can't afford not to do this.
Which brings us to the crucial part of this whole deep dive, the how and the who. Because you can't just order a bespoke AI on Amazon.
No, you need a partner. And that leads us directly to the organization that provided the insights for today's episode, C9.
Right. C9. They are Australia's leading custom software, apps integration, and database developer company.
And what's really interesting about C9 isn't just their technical capability, it's their underlying philosophy.
They have a very specific approach, don't they?
They do. Their core mantra is, the problem must be defined before the solution is designed.
Which sounds like common sense, but in the AI space right now, it is incredibly rare.
Most vendors show up with a shiny solution and then try to find a problem in your business to attach it to.
C9 does the exact opposite.
Exactly. Let me walk you through their engagement model, because this is how they ensure their clients aren't part of that 80% failure statistic.
Okay, step one.
Step one is the readiness assessment. They come in and take a hard look at your setup. Is your data actually organized? Do you have a genuine business problem that AI can solve profitably?
They aren't just going to build something for the sake of it.
No. If your data is a mess, they will tell you. Then step two is scoping. They work with you to pick one high-value target.
Just one.
Just one to start. You don't boil the ocean. You pick a workflow where AI will make a measurable, immediate impact.
That makes total sense. And step three.
Architecture and pilot. They build it, and crucially, they prove it works in your environment before you go all in.
De-risking the investment.
Exactly. And finally, step four is production and support. They handle the deep integration into your live systems, so no manual, copy-paste tasks, and they provide ongoing retraining.
Because business isn't static.
Right. Your data changes, your market changes. The model needs to evolve so it doesn't get stale.
I think the biggest differentiator here, and we've touched on this throughout the deep dive, is the ownership aspect. C9 builds this in Australia for Australian compliance.
Yes.
But most importantly, the client owns the IP.
That is massive. You aren't just paying a monthly fee to rent someone else's intelligence. You own the asset.
It sits on your balance sheet.
Exactly.
So as we wrap this up, the main takeaway for you listening today is this. The era of just playing around with AI pilots is over.
We are past the experimental phase.
We are. The productivity gap between the companies fumbling with generic tools and the market leaders building bespoke assets is widening every single day.
And acting now, in 2026, the data shows it buys you a 12 to 18-month competitive lead.
And in technology, an 18-month lead is basically a lifetime. You're untouchable if you execute right.
You really are.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. Something for you to take away and chew on. Vera, do you want to lay it out?
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about the risks of generic AI, but think about this from a purely strategic standpoint. In 2 years, AI is going to be running the core operations of your business.
Almost certainly.
Do you really want to be renting the brain of your company from a global vendor? A vendor who could change their pricing model overnight and hold your operations hostage?
Oh,
Or worse, a vendor who takes the exact same model you are using and sells it to your direct competitors across the street?
because it's an off-the-shelf product. Anyone can buy it.
Exactly. If you're renting, your competitor can rent the exact same intelligence tomorrow. But if you build an asset that is trained exclusively on your decades of proprietary data,
It knows your business better than anyone else ever could.
and no competitor can ever replicate that.
That is a phenomenal point to end on. If you are ready to stop renting and start owning your AI strategy, you need to be speaking with C9.
Absolutely.
They are Australia's leading custom software, apps integration, and database developer company. And they actually have a very specific next step you can take right now.
You can book a completely no-obligation AI readiness session with their team.
Just head over to their website. It's really simple, www.c9.com.au.
Have the conversation. Find out if your data is ready to become an asset.
Go to www.c9.com.au. And listen, if you found value in this deep dive, if it finally gave you the words to explain why your company's AI pilot is stalled,
Please make sure you hit that follow button on the C9 Podcast and Business page.
and share this with a colleague. Forward it to your CFO or your head of operations. They probably need to hear this perspective today.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera.
We'll catch you on the next one.